Part 1. Note-taking during a PhD. PhDs are precious and distinctive, then they have one characteristic: they make a significant original contribution to knowledge. But this remarkable, extraordinary achievement is based on a series of rudimentary skills, strategies and competencies. So many of these skills are assumed by doctoral candidates, but they also create doubt and worry and fear, particularly if a student thinks they are lacking these competencies. So we're going to work through these competencies together, quietly and carefully, in this professional development program. Great research and great researchers are based on great note-taking. For example, I have hundreds of Word files that are organised by topic and subject, and in each of those files I keep my notes. I have every set of notes from everything I have read since 1991. And I've migrated it from computer to computer to computer. So that means that every research paper, every talk, every lecture that I write, I already have hundreds, or in some cases, thousands of pages of notes. So that's a pretty good start to any research project. A research career begins when we create a niche, a cluster of expertise. And of course, that starts with the PhD. And that PhD begins with the notes that we take for that doctorate. I understand why there is worry about note-taking in doctoral education, because in undergraduate education there are new realities in the classroom. A large minority of students do not take notes of any kind through an undergraduate semester, arriving at a session and sitting through lectures or tutorials or seminars without a single note being taken on paper, pad or screen. Students have replaced the reading of scholarly books and articles with the reading of PowerPoint notes prepared by teachers. The photographing of slides is merely an extension of these two trajectories, and there are really only two possible interpretations of this note-taking reality. One, students are too lazy to bother writing their own notes. Or secondly, students are so underconfident that they're frightened of missing anything, and now that anything refers to teacher-prepared PowerPoint notes. So what's happening when this group of students enter a doctoral program? Well, as a self-diagnostic, let me ask you 10 questions. And I'm asking you these 10 questions to check in with yourself today and ask yourself if you reveal any of these tendencies. 1. Do you confuse taking notes with highlighting photocopies or annotating Kindle books? In a coursework master's course in the UK that I taught, I asked students to come in and show me their notes and the notes they'd been taking to build up their coursework master's assignments. And the reason I asked these students to see their notes is that I saw that they were unable to sustain an argument. Their paragraphs were short and fragmented. So therefore I asked to just see their notes from the readings. And what I found was that there were no notes. The students pulled out photocopies with a few highlighted sentences. This process, therefore, engages and activates a series of problems. The student then becomes wedded to the original books, the original articles, the original photocopies, but also the researchers just can't build a synthesis. And once the synthesis has been created, how are they then able to arch beyond the scholarship of others and create their own interpretation? One system that works to enable this movement from reading to note-taking is SQ3R. Survey, question, read, recite, review. Question 2. Do you separate your note-taking from the platform on which you are reading? This means, taking notes from readings in a way that is separate from books and articles. So that means we don't write notes on photocopies. We don't annotate the Kindle books. We force ourselves to make decisions about what is important. We separate the intention from the material, so your intention for the material, from the author's intention for the material. Read an article on paper, read it off an iPad, but then take notes on your laptop. This is platform management, interface management, and it's integral to note-taking. Create space between the platform on which you are reading and the platform on which you take notes. Question 3. Does every topic or subject have a separate note file? Insert your notes for every article and every book via topic. Organise your notes by subject rather than by author or date. And this means that over time you have an incredible database of thousands of pages of notes on thousands of articles. The value of these notes is incalculable. These note files may have titles like Groundwater in Indonesia, Marxist Theory, Catabolic Reactions and the Human Body, Classic Mechanics, Boolean Logic. Therefore, you build up your notes and expertise on your subject over time. Question 4. Do you log accurate references? This will save time later. I know this is self-evident, but I've seen so many PhD students spend 2 months at the end of their PhD doing the mind-numbing job of filling in problematic or absent references. So write the reference once. Write it correctly and save yourself 2 months of checking at the end of your candidature. Question 5. Are your notes legible for further use? Legibility matters. Take the time through your note-taking process to make sure that your material is readable and understandable for future use, because note-taking is an activity for the future. Make sure that you future-proof your notes. 6. Are you writing down the key argument of the writer in one sentence? The key challenge in note-taking, in fact, the point of note-taking, is to reduce the length of the original research. And we're reducing the length of that original research to render it in a form that can be used. So note-taking must be short and succinct. It is reusable. And the best way to enact this process is to read the abstract, read the introduction, and read the conclusion. And at that point, write one sentence about the argument of the research, and then write one sentence about how you're going to use that research. Remember, these are notes. The key is to ask, what is the point of the research? Why does the research matter? So you see, right at the start, you're putting your interpretation into your note-taking. Question 7. Do you look at the bibliography or reference list used by the writer, noting the quality and dates of their cited scholarship? A crucial technique of information literacy that is rarely taught is the capacity to evaluate the quality of source material used by a researcher. When an examiner is reading your PhD, they're going to go straight to your bibliography reference list. And I want you to do the same for every piece of research that you read. So when you start reading a piece, look at the reference list first. Make a judgment about the date of the references, you see any blind spots or absences in the research, the biases in the bibliography. Check the quality of your reading material. Is it refereed? What is the scope and the scale of the self-citation? And does the research move between historical important work and current initiatives? Does it move between analogue and digital sources? Question 8. Do you transcribe important quotations accurately, and do you differentiate clearly in your notes between paraphrasing the author and your direct quotations from them? Right. Once you've determined the key argument and the quality of the references, let's talk about quotations. We're going to have a later part that's exploring paraphrasing, plagiarism and quotations, but the major point I want to make early in this professional development program is that if the form and the content of your readings matter to your argument, then make sure you write down quotations, and yes, with inverted commas, and those quotations must be written down accurately. I'm aware that some disciplines naturalise paraphrasing, but please make sure, if you can't paraphrase well or you're working on it now, please write down the quotes with inverted commas, and we'll work on that key first paraphrasing skill. Please read the abstract and write at least one sentence describing the point of the article. 9. Are your notes sufficiently detailed so that you do not need to return to the original text when writing up your chapter, article, or assignment? The whole point of taking notes is brevity. You are not rewriting the article. You must be selective and systematic. And we all need to appreciate and continue to learn about the delicate art of note-taking. Notes need to be short enough so that they're usable, portable, and functional. But they also need to be detailed enough so that they're brief enough that you can put away the book or the article and then still be able to use those notes for future research. So this is the art and the craft of note-taking, and it's learned through practice. Question 10. Are your notes sufficiently brief so that you have not paraphrased the entire article? It's important to always err on the side of brevity of an argument with some accurately transcribed quotations. I know inexperienced or worried students take too many notes. They almost rewrite the entire article. So be confident. We learn to write by writing. We learn to take notes by note-taking. Recognise that taking notes matters. For me, it is a powerful and valuable skill. A professor at Albion Christian University, Bill Rankin, reported about 5 years ago that his students stopped taking notes. And he asked, quote, of his students, quote, "Why are you not taking notes?" And they said, "Why would we take notes on that? I can go to Wikipedia or go to Google and I can get all the information I need." End of quote. Note-taking is not simply about information. It improves memory. It triggers factual recall. It shapes the interpretation of data, and it provides a guide through disciplinary knowledge. So PhD research may use labs, fieldwork, creative-led, practice-led methods, or unobtrusive methods. But all disciplinary protocols, all disciplinary perspectives are based on reading. And that reading leads to interpretation and thinking. Now, I know critical thinking really is a cliche these days, but passionate and powerful thinking is built on the simple yet extraordinary skill of note-taking.